Hey, 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 everybody. Hey, hey, hey. It's Miss Tanya. I am here. It is Thursday. It's Think About It Thursday. So I was thinking, like, what we going to talk about? What is something that we can talk about that we really need to think about? I had to think about it. And I almost forgot what I was going to talk about today. I was talking to a friend on the phone and I was like, girl, I forgot what I was going to talk about today, but I'm back. I'm back and I remember. And I want to know something. We need to be talking about things beyond money, right? Beyond the wealth. Is it necessary for us to be a millionaire? That's what I want to know. Does our happiness, does our life require us to be millionaires? We need to have this conversation. We do. We do. But before we get into it, before we start chatting, before you get in here and get inside the chat, get inside of those comments and tell me what you think, before I share some of what I think, you know what we got to do first? What we got to do first, we got to reclaim some of our time. That's important because we're reclaiming our time. We are walking right back into our wellness. We are living for us. We're not living for that dollar. No, 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 no. Or maybe you are. I don't know. But right here, right now, we want to get into a little groove. We want to shake some of that anxiety off, something that may have been going wrong so far in the day. We want to take our day back. We're going to do a little breath work. Y'all know how it goes. Yeah. So let's get in it. What I want you to do is inhale to the count of 4. And we're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then we're going to exhale. And we'll hold that for a few seconds. And we'll repeat that a few times. Now, you can close your eyes if you're in a place that you can do that. I don't want you to do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're driving. Don't do that if you're actually sitting at the desk. If you got your head pods on and you're taking a listen, we'll vibrate with us and listen. But if you can close your eyes, close your eyes. You want to take it a step further, put your hands over your heart and feel that. You are alive. That's you. Let's get into it. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. One more time. Let's inhale. Hold it a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Didn't that feel great? Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody. I need some help here. Because I got somebody who chimed in and told me that they're not hearing me. I need somebody to let me know. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Why don't you do that by putting a 1 in the comments? Somebody come on in and put a 1 in the comments if you can hear me. Type that in for me. I see I got Robin in here. How you doing, Robin? I see you made a reaction to my question. And my question was, is it necessary for us to be a millionaire? You said not at all. If you're still in here with me, I want you to put a 1 in the comments. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Great, 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 great. I got Amina here. She is letting me know that she can hear me. I am glad to have you here. This is an important conversation that I feel like we need to have, guys. We do. Because according to the 2021 report from the Brookings Institute, only about 8% of Black households in the United States have a net worth of at least $1 million. And obviously, you know this, that is significantly lower than white households, which is approximately somewhere around 26%. We've always known that there is a racial wealth gap. Yeah, it has been. And it has very, very complex, you know, that's a complex situation. There's a lot that revolves around that, you know, that has influences that range from history, systemic factors, discrimination, unequal access to education and job opportunities. There's just a lot of differences within our wealth transfer. But what I really want to know, what I want to know is beyond wealth, is it necessary for us to be a millionaire? We need to be thinking about that. We need to think about whether or not we can live happy and we can have a fulfilling life that does not require us to have millions. All right. Because there are many individuals with moderate wealth and they're living very happy lives. And I think that's something that we need to discuss because we're pushing ourselves and we're pushing our young people into a lifestyle that may not be necessary for their happiness. So I want us to talk about it. I really do. To be happy, my thought is that we need to have great relationships, positive relationships. We need to have something to feel great about, something to feel good about, to have some gratitude, right? Have a meaning for your life. We also need to be able to practice being kind, being mindful. We need to maintain our health, have a healthy lifestyle, learn how to manage our stress. Some of those things that are just going to put us in a better mental state. And I want to know, and I want you guys to have this conversation with me. I want to know why we've got into this race of trying to accumulate and hoard all of this money and material wealth. And is it because we're trying to keep up with the Joneses? Is that what it is? Is that putting financial stress on us? I feel like people who are trying to keep up with the Joneses, people who are really out here living beyond their means, they're putting themselves in a financial stress that it's just not necessary. They're making themselves vulnerable, putting themselves in financial insecurity. And they really are struggling out here to make ends meet. They're accumulating debt. And for what? To keep up with the Joneses? Are we really falling for that social pressure? And social pressure is a real thing, you know? There can be social pressure to keep up with your peers and to maintain a certain lifestyle, even if you're not financially able to do that. But I don't know how you can find that personally fulfilling. That's too much stress. You're putting on a show, and it has very negative impacts. It's going to have negative impacts on your life and your relationships because it's going to lead to certain conflicts, especially if you're in a household and you're taking money to do things that aren't necessary, to buy things to keep up with the Joneses. That's not going to have good effects on your relationship. You're going to have stress in the home. You might be paying for things or you want clothes or shoes that are name brand, and then your bills aren't being paid the way that they should be paid. That's going to be very negative, have very negative impacts in your household, right? And I know people want to keep up with the Joneses because they really want to have some sense of wealth, right? So you're just trying to keep up with others so that you feel like you belong. You don't want to feel inadequate. You want to feel like you've got some self-worth and worth. It's just unfortunate that you're in a situation where you have to measure yourself up against your peers. Shouldn't have to do that. If those are your friends and you are maintaining a good lifestyle and you have good relationships with them, you shouldn't be trying to keep up with things that they have. That definitely shouldn't be a priority. A lot of times I feel like people feel like it's necessary to keep up with the Joneses because They wanna feel, it's like these big things make them feel validated. Material possessions have some type of possession over them. They really wanna look like they've got it going on. But that's not helpful, and that's definitely not healthy. You gotta be able to live within your means. Living beyond your means is just putting yourself in a very unstable place financially, especially for your future. That's something that you don't wanna do. You gotta think about, like, what my grandma used to call it, you gotta be able to put something in the nest because there's gonna be a rainy day. Something has to be in that rainy day fund. You've got to be able to save for emergencies. And what about retirement? So you don't wanna put yourself or leave yourself in a vulnerable financial hardship. And when you're living above your means, that's exactly what you're doing. It really is. And you have decisions that you can make. The choice really is yours. You can choose to live differently. You can have a different set of priorities. You can. You can live happy. And there are many people who are living happy without feeling the need to be a millionaire. So many ways that can be done. So many ways. Number one, just have some type of priority over what you are putting value to. You've got to prioritize your values. Like if you're out here choosing a car model or brands of clothing or a house in a particular neighborhood that you cannot afford, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You shouldn't necessarily be out here simply trying to buy something because it is the most expensive option. Be smart. Reduce that financial stress or don't cause yourself any financial stress. Because there's nice cars, there's nice clothing, nice neighborhoods and homes that you will be able to find within your budget. You got to know that. I see a lot of people in here already. I see Robin here. Like to tell her hello. Amina's in the building. How you doing, Amina? Also, I see Malik Williams is joining us right now. He sends a bless up, definitely. All right. I see Keep the Faith with Tori. She's here. She let me know that she could hear me. I'm glad that you could hear me. Also, we've got Let's Talk About It. She says, good afternoon. Trusting everyone is having an amazing, blessed day. And we are. We're having a conversation here about our wealth and whether or not it's necessary for us to be a millionaire to live a fulfilling life. I think we know the answer to that. I see Malik Williams here says, a generational wealthy appearance is a new drug. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He said the appearance of generational wealth is a new drug. It is, guys. It's like people want to look like they've got it and they don't. You know how many young people I see out here with Gucci belts and Gucci this, and they don't even have jobs. And some of the Gucci is not real, of course. But the idea that they want a brand that is associated with wealth says a whole lot. It's like we've got our focus on the wrong things. We're not focusing on what could be good life experiences. We're focusing on possessions. We've got to choose to invest in our experiences, like invest in that family time. Invest in some cultural type of events, travel. Instead of trying to upgrade and look like you've got the latest car, you wanna drive around in a Mercedes, and it would be better if you had a Toyota Camry, which is a really nice car, you know? So sometimes I wonder why we are doing that to ourselves. I see Let's Talk About It has a comment here. She says, "My grandmother taught us to live beneath your monies and aspire to increase your monies by at least 3 to 5% yearly. That was 50 years ago and something I should have followed. I'm trying to do it now. Exactly. That's how our grandparents, that's what they wanted to teach us. They knew that it was necessary to save. Saving is important. You never know what is gonna come up. You don't. And if your intention is to build something for your family, to be able to educate your children and allow them certain opportunities, you've gotta have that nest egg. It's important. I always say this, and I tell people this all the time. I'm not living above my means, and I'm not living below my means. So what that means is I found a way to have the things that I need in my life to make sure that I can provide the things for my children in their life, for their opportunities, without breaking the bank. You gotta figure out ways of doing that. I see Amina here, she says, "Sadly, even though the family trips have been used as a flex nowadays, people really don't understand our greatest capital is human capital and time." I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Um, and that is sad because I don't know necessarily that a family trip should be a flex. I don't know that that should be something necessarily to brag about in terms of, I guess you mean a flex in terms of how you vacation, I'm assuming? Like, what levels of hotel stay or what type of trip you actually take. I guess that's what that means. Because I agree with you here. The greatest capital is human capital. So when we can spend that time with our family and have that vacation, that's a wonderful thing. And that's a family flex, right? I mean, my family from I remember the first time our family went out of the country, I was probably, 12 or 13, maybe 12, and we went to Jamaica, our whole family. Not a flex vacation, but a vacation. You know, we were traveling before you even had to have a passport to go out there. You know, our parents just had to have our birth certificates. That was a different American way. But it allowed us as young people to realize that we could travel and that, the world was bigger than where we were from, right? I think the internet really plays a huge part in people making their family trips look like a flex. And I hope I hope that they're not using their family trip as a flex. And maybe to some people, it might look like a flex because perhaps they may not be able to take that type of vacation. But I would say to them, and that is the conversation that we're having right now, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Make sure that you can do something that is worthwhile to you and for your family. Because overall, trying to keep up with the Joneses and living beyond your means, it's definitely gonna have a negative consequence on your personal finances. It's gonna have a negative, impact on your emotional well-being. So it's important to prioritize your personal values and have some financial responsibility over those. You've gotta be able to be more responsible of your finances over whatever type of pressure or whatever, um, I don't wanna call it, jealousies because it's just so unfortunate that everybody puts everything on the internet and everybody puts their highlights up here, and it's just in your face. So, I don't know necessarily that it is for a flex or if people are taking it more for a flex, but we have got to find a way to not let that bother us. We've gotta find a way Take the vacations that we can take. And don't worry about how it appears. You don't even have to put your family vacation up. Your family needs to know that. That's what it is. I see Malik Williams here has a comment. He says, for some, a trip to Myrtle Beach is a flex. It varies depending on possibilities. And y'all didn't have social media to post to. Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you. You know, back in the days, pre internet, pre social media, families were always taking vacations. But it wasn't in people's faces. It wasn't in everyday people's faces. And Myrtle Beach is a good trip, by the way. I often say that if you live in South Carolina and you haven't at least taken your kids to Myrtle Beach, then there's something going on with you. If you're worried about the flex of what it looks like to go to Jamaica and you haven't even been to Myrtle Beach, then you're one of the people who need to think about where your priorities are. I see Amina here. She says it should be rooted in quality time and sharing experiences that broaden your family's perspectives. Absolutely. I agree with you. That's what it's for. That's the whole idea of taking your family somewhere, taking them somewhere out of their hometown. I've worked with young people and had the opportunity to work with young people for many, many years. And it often made me sad to know how many young people never left their hometown. Like I said, we happen to be, I'm here in Carolina, I'm in South Carolina, so for a young person to not even have gone to Myrtle Beach is an outrageous thing. I want us to continue to have this conversation, and if I happen to have some people who I'm vetting people, so I really have to know you if I'm gonna bring you into this stream, all right? But if I got somebody who wanna come in on the stream, let me know. Hit me in my messenger and I'll get a link out to you, all right? I wanna put another comment up here from Les Eccles. Les says, "If I don't have or can't do it, it doesn't mean that person's flexing. And if they are flexing, that's also their prerogative. It's their money and their life. Flex anyway. Respect." And and I gotta agree with you, brother. I gotta agree. Because it may not be a flex. That is what they can do. They're living within their budget. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be giving their family an experience. And if we're looking at it and feeling like it is a flex and it is making us feel a particular type of way, then I think we need to look at ourselves. All right, y'all, I see somebody who wants to come in on the all right. I got Isaac Wilson here who wants to come in. Hey, Isaac, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Everything good? You hear the conversation we're having, right?
I just got off another another thing, so I haven't whole. I'm trying to read the comments, so you can bring me up to speed just a little bit.
Man, we are talking about whether or not we need to be millionaires. Is being a millionaire necessary? We're talking about beyond wealth. Like, can we live happy? Can we be satisfied with our lives, right? We've been talking about keeping up with the Joneses and just the financial stresses and things that people are putting themselves in, with this expectation. It may be a false expectation. Now, I do want to say this. Let me say this. I'm not at all suggesting that people not have goals, right? Yes, have your goals, but I don't necessarily know that being a millionaire should be a goal. So let's start there if you might have, something to add to that to the conversation in that respect.
I think one of my goals is that I live a better quality of life than my parents. Simple,
Mhm.
whatever capacity that is. And I think for me, that has simply nothing to do with money. I'm the only one in my family right now over the age of 30 who is not on blood pressure pills, right? That's a
Ooh,
big deal. That's a big deal to me because I'm not
yeah.
letting the stress of life get to me. So I'm already above the fray in that goal. I think a lot of people equate the money to the happiness and quality of life because they see what we see on TV and what we influence, what we go after. There's good influence and bad influence, and so we let money influence us on social media, and thinking that that is the only way to keep true happiness is to have millions of dollars in your bank account. But a lot of times, the people with the millions of dollars have the most problems, uh,
Yeah.
and they're not happy, or whatnot. And the real point that I want to make here is the most of the people who have made great strides in life weren't rich and they
Mm.
didn't have a lot of money. Martin Luther King Jr. made great strides. We wouldn't be in the situation we're in life right now as a people if some of the things that he did, he left his family in a financial bind because it wasn't about finances for him. It was really genuinely about moving our people forward. So when we think about people that are moving life forward for us, it's not about money. Political activists don't get rich.
Right.
These democratic strategists and most politicians don't get rich on a local level, but they're really there to move life forward because they think life is better lived with a better quality of life and having great communities, having crime down, having great grocery stores and things like that. To see, we don't think about stuff like that. We
Yeah.
just think about the money part.
Yeah, because listen, you're talking about people who were focused on like cultivating a life of purpose.
Right.
You know, they wanted to do something. They felt like they wanted to contribute. That had meaning to them. If you ask them like one point of what would be meaningful in life, very obviously it would be contributing, volunteering, in the community, giving back. That gives people a sense of fulfillment. You
Hmm.
got to be able to have some type of connection in life that's really going to be larger than yourself. You know,
Right.
you can't
Right.
always be selfish. And right before I brought you into the stream, we were talking about, like those family vacations and how important it was to take your family and you yourself to just go outside of your own particular hometown, you know? And so some people were making comments about that, and we were also talking about some people on social media are using those vacations for a flex. And
They
then
are. They are. They are.
yeah,
They are.
some are, but I tell you this. Let me put Les's comment up again because before I brought you in, I read his comment. I want to read it again. And he said, if you don't have or can't do it, it doesn't mean that a person's flexing. And if they are flexing, that's also their prerogative. If it's their money in life, flex anyway. So he has a very valid point here.
Yeah, you can do what you want to do with your money. I don't count people's pockets,
Right.
uh, but the people's pockets I do count what's in their pocket is when I know you're struggling over here, but you're living like the Joneses over here,
Right.
or whatever. And so that makes me think you're trying to keep up with something that you can't even keep up with. A lot of people think that going to Myrtle Beach isn't a vacation. Well, it's a vacation to me. I love Myrtle Beach. I don't have to go to Miami. I don't have to go to Jamaica. I can go to Myrtle
Thank
Beach
you.
and have a dang on good time in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
Matter of
just
fact,
it has nothing to do with money.
right. We got a comment here from Amina. She said, "One of my favorite family vacations was a camping trip we did at the PD State Park a couple years ago. We really bonded during that time. It was simple and relaxing."
That's it. That's what it's
That
about.
sound that sounds so fly to me.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
It does. We
It
got
does.
another comment here from Malik Williams. He says, "And low key, we hated our vacations, but we went every summer. It took a long time to what? It took a long time to get there in them old Lincolns and station wagons, 70s." Yes, I know. Are we there yet? Okay, are we there yet? You're in the car with your sisters and brothers. It's this long trip. Mama or grandma, somebody fried some fried chicken. You got wrapped up in some
Oh
aluminum
yes, in that
foil.
bag, and you had to take it out on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, you freeze your drinks and wrap them up in
Oh
foil
yeah.
to keep them cool. Listen, Was that living?
That was living. But I think the time from then to now is social media. And people are able across the world, you're able to see what other families are now doing, because back then you didn't know. You just knew about what your family in your neighborhood was doing, or you went to church and they told you where they went, but you wasn't
Right.
seeing things broadcasted and having everything Snapchatted and put on social media. So I think a lot of that has to do with that. And if we didn't have that, these simple vacations to the state park, these simple vacations to Myrtle Beach will still be a thing, and it will still be big in the hearts of many if you didn't have social media.
Absolutely. Social media has really, played a huge part in this whole thing. It's got people wanting to be more and live, what we call it, live above their means, but
Yep.
basically we call it keeping up with the Joneses,
Keeping up with the
right?
Joneses. I don't
And
know who the Joneses are though, but
who are the
yeah,
Joneses?
I would love to do that research and know who the Joneses are. Who could have been the Browns, Johnson. Who are the
Yeah,
Joneses?
I'm telling you, like a really things that I think or things that I want to be able to do with my money, whatever value that has. I wanna make sure that I can have some type of a healthy lifestyle. I
Hmm.
wanna be able to eat well. I wanna be able to exercise. I wanna be able to make sure, like, the essential things that I need for my health. Like, I like what you said, like, when you came in, like, okay, I'm not on blood pressure medication, you know? That's a big thing. That's
Big.
I come from a family that, that has been a problem in our past,
Hmm.
so that self-care part. And where does money play a part in that? It may play a part in where you buy your food from and some of the foods that you may
Hmm.
get, but we know that there's budgeting that we can do to make sure that we're getting um, a better meal or shopping smart. There's ways of doing that. I
Hmm.
see we've got so many people, commenting here, they're just rolling by. Let me go ahead and get a few of them up here. I wanna thank you, by the way, for jumping in the chat with me.
Oh, no problem.
I see we got "Let's talk about it." She says, "We need to teach our youth that having 3 and 4 pairs of $200 shoes, latest phones, and brand name clothing means nothing if you're spending a week's paycheck or or bill payments to do it."
Mm, yeah,
I agree with that.
yeah. Nothing to add there.
Nothing to add there. She said it all. Amina says, "I think the goal of being a millionaire is easily accepted because people really don't do the work to strategically determine what realistic lifestyle they want and what it takes to have that. So for them, they figure if they're millionaires, they will have access to more things." Woo! You listen, you just typed it all up and said it all, but she's right.
Yeah.
She's absolutely right because I would imagine most people without careful thought who just feel like their goal is to be a millionaire, they wanna do that because of financial security. I guess they feel like having a large amount of money is gonna provide them with a sense of security and stability, which it can if you're not wasteful, if you're not blowing it, because the same way you make money, well, you can lose money.
That's what I'm about to say. We've seen a lot of people with a lot of money. We're talking about millions. We're talking about 50, 60 million. And they're down to zero because they
Yeah,
didn't have their goal was to make a lot of money, but they never had a strategic plan to keep it.
exactly. And a lot of people, you gotta think about this, they just wanna be a millionaire for, like, status.
Hmm.
Status and recognition.
Hmm.
They just wanna be a millionaire so they feel like they've got some sense of success, some sense of accomplishment so that they're just recognized, and their biggest thing is just, like, "I'm a millionaire." Like, that doesn't tell me a lot about you by just saying that you're a
It just says you
millionaire.
got some money. That's it. You got some money. And $1 million
Right.
isn't a lot of money.
At
Um,
all.
a lot of people love to say, "Oh, if you ain't never had money, $1 million is." Yeah, I get the old adage, I get it, but it's not a
Mhm.
lot of money because the first thing I would hope that you would do is go buy you a nice house. That's going to cost you $250,000. So now we're below the threshold of $1 million. We're below the threshold of $800,000. Now what are you going to do?
Right.
save
I
some to read the rest of your life. So I hope you put in $350,000 to the side. So now you're down to about 500,000. So it's not a lot of money, and we
it's
need to stop
not.
telling people that it is.
They're not doing the math. They're not really thinking about it. I mean, there are several ways that you can support your family and support your loved ones if you're just like fiscally responsible, you know?
You got to be fiscally responsible. I tell parents all the time when I'm going to speak to schools to the comment about the shoes and all that stuff like that. I first tell the students that your parents don't go around bullying people and talking about people who don't have what you have, because your parents are one paycheck away from you not having what you have. One paycheck. They don't
One.
get paid Friday. That puts them in a whole whirlwind of financial troubles if they haven't saved, and you no longer will get Jordans for the next 3, 4, 5 months until your parents get back on the feet. The other
Right.
thing is, parents need to stop giving children everything they didn't have and start paying attention to what they did have. And that's what you give
Ooh,
to children. So we oftentimes forget that. Oh, I want to give my child everything I didn't have. Okay, but are you giving them what you did have? And that's the nurturing, that's the respect, that is the finances that your mom and daddy told you to keep. That is the small trips, that is the family time. Are you doing those things that you did have that made you who you are today?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on now. You just put a whole word out here for the people. You understand me? I see Craig Boat right here. He says, those look at me ways and flexing on your peers ain't nothing new. It's not.
Talk about
It's,
it, Creedy.
it's not. It ain't new, but I tell you what, it sure is old. Don't make no sense. And essentially that's what he's saying, but it just doesn't make sense. I see we
No.
have Keep the Faith with Tori. She says, this is such a great conversation. I just want to be comfortable. I appreciate the simple things in life. Yeah, I mean, if you can't appreciate the simple things in life, money isn't gonna make you appreciate anything, you know? I see she agreed with me here, Isaac. She said, "Talk about it, Isaac." We got Amina here. She says, "Quality of life is so big for me. I definitely want to have enough money to have a home to share with my family and have amenities within the home that contribute to our holistic health. I want to live off of the land. And when I look at the cost of farming and equipment, I realize how much more I need to make or acquire monetarily to have my ideal life." Well, you know what? I like what you're saying here. But see, there's a difference here with what you're talking about. You have goals here, and you have attached the financial
Hmm.
responsibility to your goals.
Yep.
It's not like you're just here saying, I want to be a millionaire. It's like, I
Hmm.
want to live and I see what it takes for me to live the lifestyle that I want. And so this is what I got to do to make sure that I can have this lifestyle.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Keep the faith with Tori. She says, yes, Amina, absolutely. I tell you, there's just there's a big difference in people who aspire to be millionaires and people who are financially responsible. Because there's a whole lot of people out here who are comfortable being thousandaires, you know?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there are a lot of thousandaires out here, and we need to make that popular because I would much rather be uh, a thousandaire and make sure that I've got a little nest egg of whatever it is that people will feel is enough to have in your nest egg that you could have an emergency and it's not going to take you out. So that can range whatever you decide, but I would imagine that can range anywhere from, I don't know, a few thousand to 10,000 or whatever that amount is for you. But I imagine if you could have that much saving, you can have an emergency and
Hmm.
nothing is it's not going to take you out. So
I would tell people that $10,000 needs to be the goal for savings. It needs to
mhm,
be the goal. A lot of people don't get there, but if you got the 7,500, hey, that's a pretty good nest egg too, right? So I
right.
think the goal needs to be 10,000. If you hit 10,000, keep going. Put
Right.
that in your savings, and you live off of whatever's in your checking or whatever. But put that 10,000 in your savings and do not touch it, or whatnot. And as you get above anything above the 10,000, you now go and place that on a CD in a bank and let it collect interest for every $1,000 you put in. See, these are things that we need to be start telling our children. And that's
Mhm.
why we hold the financial literacy part of our youth symposium. That the younger we started, you don't have to wait to be a millionaire if you want to be a millionaire. You need to start now at 14, 15. There's plenty of 14, 15-year-old millionaires that started out with a plan, and they're now, 25, 26 year olds, and they're living comfortably with the money that they had. They didn't get any new money. They're living comfortably with what they had.
Mhm.
And so we need to start thinking that the earlier you get this stuff, you can kind of put out a plan for the next 20 years with the money that you have. We know that you're going to continue to make money, but if you made $1 million by the time you're 25, I'm pretty sure you have a plan. I would like to think that you have a plan for that $1 million to be spent.
Right, 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 right. I agree with you. I see
Yeah.
Malik here. He says, let's not forget assets over liabilities.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And I
You've
like his
got,
comment earlier. He said, "That's right, Isaac. Don't forget that little speech before we went in the store.
oh,
You know, you
yeah.
know, your parents told you. Your parents told you, don't touch nothing. You ain't getting nothing. You know,
Don't ask me for
don't
nothing.
ask for nothing because don't be in here asking asking them like we ain't got no food at the house. Um,
Exactly.
so we need to, I think, some of that, because now we're buying our kids just everything. And the one thing that I hate the most, and I know we shouldn't say we hate, but I hate it the most,
Mhm.
is that we are giving our children whatever they want for 9 weeks of A's.
Yeah.
You going to school to make A's. That's what you're
You're
supposed to
supposed,
do. So I'm not
that's your
giving you
one job.
that you're supposed to do, because I'm providing you with food and clothes and shelter. Now I can see if you did it for the whole year or you did it for the whole semester, I might get you something. But I'm not
Mhm.
getting you something for 9 weeks of A's, because that's what you're supposed to do. I didn't send you here to make D's and F's. So
Right.
again, that goes with the money aspect of it, that we're not taking money as seriously as we should, because we're just throwing it away. So you
Right.
can't want $1 million if you're throwing the one money you got away now over just somebody getting an A. So
Yeah.
those things have to go in with each other.
I agree. And I think about this too. I don't know about you, but I'm real grown and I keep a phone until that phone can't do nothing else. I'm getting ready to get every ounce, every penny I can squeeze out of it. And yeah, I do have an iPhone, right? But
Yeah,
these iPhones cost a lot of money.
they
And when
do.
I see kids, when I see school kids with iPhones and these malls don't have no jobs, I don't understand it. I don't.
I don't understand it either. I get it. You want your kids to have the phones, but there's no way
You won't
my
have
14-year-old child would have an iPhone 14 and I
no.
got an iPhone 12. It doesn't make logical sense to me.
Make it
Um,
make sense.
it doesn't make sense. So yeah, we just have a lot of you know growing up to do in the money aspect of things and what is important.
We
Um,
do.
so our, like Amina said, our impoverished mindset and poor management skills is what has us in certain situations that we are in now. And if we can learn that, we will understand. If you got money management, you will understand that having $1 million isn't the goal.
Right.
It's just money management. It has nothing to do with $1 million.
Thank you.
Um, but to each his own. We'll let people continue to think and believe as they should.
Yeah,
Um,
well, guess what? The reason why we're having this conversation is so that perhaps they can have a different way of thinking. So they can start having these different conversations because I'm going to put Amina's comment up soon, but since we were on the iPhone, I want to say something about Apple
mhm,
because I don't think it makes sense for them to have an iPhone because that costs so much money. To me, when I got an iPhone, that was an investment. I needed to make sure that that iPhone could pay for itself. And for
mhm,
me, as a content creator, as someone who understands how to use it and how it could help my workflow, that was the only reason why I brought an iPhone. I stayed away from Apple for a very long time. I didn't see, the purpose of a phone costing that much money. But when I was able to see how it helped my workflow, and only because it would help my workflow, that I could see the advantage for me having it. Now, I also want to say this. People have the iPhone, but they don't have any Apple stock. People have the
Right.
iPhone,
Right.
but they don't have, an Apple credit card. They don't have an Apple high yield savings account. Do y'all know that Apple has a savings account with Goldman Sachs that is
Hmm.
paying over 4% interest rate? Did you know that?
I didn't know about the interest rate, but I knew they had a card. I didn't know about the interest
They
rate.
got the card, but they went now, not only the card, but now you can have a savings account. They've got a deal with Goldman Sachs. And if you want to bank with somebody, hmm, Goldman Sachs is what you want to do. So
Right.
what you think you need to be, where you think you need to be saving some money at? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
let, let's go to some of these. Let's go to some of these comments because they're steadily going by here. This
Uh,
comment here with Amina.
before you do that, I do want to say this. This is breaking news to me right
Okay.
here on Miss Tanya. Carolyn Bryan Donham, whose accusation led to the 1955 lynching of Emmett Till, has died at 88.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Just wanted to get that out there.
Well,
Breaking news
moving
to your
right
show.
along because we feel a type of way about her.
Right.
Well, since you did that, you know what? Right before the show, and I mean like moments before the show. I mean, we as Black people, I tell you what, we got so much respect for life and people
Right.
that we even respect people who didn't have no freaking respect for us and will still acknowledge them. Isn't that outrageous?
Right.
You see what
Right.
type of people we are, what type of good people we are.
Right.
But right before the show, right minutes before my show started, I had a friend who texted me and she said, "Girl, did you know Jerry Springer died?"
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he died. Yeah.
Yeah, she said, "Jerry Springer died, girl. I didn't know until now." That's what she texted me, and I'm gonna put you what I responded. I said, "Are we upset about this?"
Yeah, I ain't upset about Carolyn at all. In no form or fashion am I upset at
No,
all.
I know, and she wasn't either, but that I'm just telling you what my response was. She was like,
Right.
"Girl, I ain't upset." She was like, "No, I'm just saying, you know us." She said, "You know, a lot of us Black folks watch." I said, "You know what?" I said, "Here's why so many of our folks are stuck on watching BS." But
Mm-hmm.
respect though,
Mm-hmm.
because if you think about it, we're gonna get back onto the topic that we were
Right.
talking about. But if you think about it, particularly with Springer, we we took that, you know, we're stuck in that way of watching BS right into the internet. And that's the same thing that we're doing now, just on the internet, like the glorified BS. So enough about that and that's why we're having these conversations. And that's why I thought it was important to have Noontime My Time podcast, because it's important for us to take our time back and let's recalibrate this thing. Let's have conversations. Let's start conversations that mean something to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't mean anything to you right now, if you hear it or someone tells you about it, then maybe you can have that conversation and we can do something different and do something better. Now we'll get back into uh whose comment were we about to put up? Was it Amina's?
I think so. Or was
Okay.
it? Yeah.
It's so many of them in here
Yeah.
now. Let's read a few of them so we can get through with the comments here. We got Amina. She said the quality of life is so big for me. Did I read that? Oh yeah, I read that one. I read that one. Okay. Well, Amina was talking about, her lifestyle of wanting to get into the farming, and I see here Malik had a corresponding comment. He says his neighbor started with an above ground farm in his backyard. And he said, I'm exploring that now. Imagine not literally paying for food in the traditional sense. That is a freedom. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know a lot of people who they do container gardening, and that's important. I mean, even if you plant something like tomatoes or okras and cucumbers, that's still saving for you. I see Amina here. She says, I'm tickled though because some profess that they want to be millionaires, but they have a impoverished mindset and poor money management habits. It's funny when I see people post about wanting food stamps as opposed to wanting to have a means to go out into the grocery store and purchase what they need or desire.
You hear my snaps. You hear my
Woo!
snaps.
Good Lord. Let's leave that up for some people to read it in case you're a slow reader like myself. That's true. That's so true. Goodness.
She preaching today.
Okay. Wow. Malik says, well, it's so crazy you feel compelled to let them have it just in case they need to call us in emergency, although they never really use it to communicate with us. For real, for real. He's talking about the phones. Well, Malik, yes. Now, I do think that young people, and we have gotten into that lifestyle of everyone having their phone. I do think that young people should have a ways to communicate with us in case of an emergency, but does it have to be an iPhone? Not a phone. We're talking about an iPhone, which costs a lot of money. An iPhone is a whole car payment. And depending, and if you're like me, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I got an iPhone that costs more than my car. I brought a car off the side of the road. I don't know if y'all live like how I live or where I live, but I live in the South where you could be driving down the road and somebody have a sign on a vehicle with a number on it, and you can
Right.
call it and you can negotiate that price with them because they want to sell that car.
Right.
And I literally brought a car that costs less than my iPhone. 4 wheels and an engine.
Wow.
You understand me? So
Wow.
that's what I mean. So my kids never had an iPhone when they were in school and high school and grade. No. Mm-mm.
I didn't
And
have an
even
iPhone either. I mean, they weren't out, but we had a Nokia phone that light up and only had Snake on it. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, how times have changed.
They have
Yeah.
changed. You know, when we had the little kick phones and they had the little, I remember they had the little phones with the little slide out keyboard and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Right.
they had that. But
Yeah.
that did not cost me $1,000 and something dollars.
Right.
I see Keep the Faith with Tori. She says, my son saved his money and brought his own iPhone XR10. His phone more up to date than mine. Oh, I applaud that. I'm here for you saving your money to get what you want. That's what we want to teach him. What we're talking about
be
here.
wise, but be wise with spending your own money as well. Because you can still take your own money and go buy a lesser phone to make things happen too. So because you spend your own money doesn't mean you get to go and you should go and out there and splurge and say, well, I spent my own money. So that's a caveat to that. But I'm happy that he spent his own money, not yours, Tori. So you can use your money to take me to lunch one day.
Exactly. And you know what? This kind of off subject, but still I'm gonna say it because it came to my mind. Now you see, I came out with a thought and then you came with another thought, right?
Right.
That's why I feel like it is important to have a 2-family household. Because see how you came right on in there? Dad said, look, you got this money, but you need to do this different.
Right.
You understand me?
Right.
All right, y'all, we're gonna keep on before I start talking about something else. Malik Williams says, well, it's so crazy you feel compelled to let them have it just in case they need. Oh, did I read that already? I read that. My bad. Y'all got to move.
He does have another one up there.
Okay. What Amina got here? We've got Amina here. She says, well, we're also not taking education and fulfillment as seriously as we should because we've made those things too closely associated. I was in the generation that was taught you go to school because our higher education would ensure us higher income, i.e., a better life. No, you're right. That's what we were taught. I see Craig Boat right here. He says, being rich means so many things to so many people. I'm personally living a rich life. I have the respect of my family, friends, and community. I have my health, a year out of a kidney transplant. I can take regional trips and international trip once a year. Do I have $1 million in the bank? Nope. But I make what I got work for me. Stress-free, and love-filled. And that's what we're talking about here.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
That is what we're talking about. We can be thousandaires. You can live your life. You can budget your paycheck. Put some money into your savings. Find the highest yield savings account that you can have. And all of you people who out here have iPhones, I hope that if you have an iPhone, that you at least have the credibility to get the Apple card. If you don't have an Apple card, get one. Get you an Apple card so that you can get you an Apple savings account. Because I'm gonna tell you something. My bank was not offering me the type of interest rate that Apple is giving me. So they saw me changing my monties. Okay.
And to Craig's point, um, uh, my good friends, David and Tamala Mann, they live right outside of Dallas, and you would think because we know they got a lot of money, you would think they live in this huge, humongous house. It's huge to a lot of us, but
Mhm.
it is not as what you would probably say. Okay, hey, big. It's not a mansion, right?
Right.
And they always say, well, who are we trying to appease? Like, who
Thank
are
you.
we trying to whatever? Because we're celebrities. They drive regular cars. One has a Porsche, and the other one drives a BMW. I mean, just regular everyday cars that you and I can go get because they're not
Exactly.
trying to prove themselves to people because they have the money. And so they're able to do what Craig just said. They're able to live that fun-filled life and do what everybody else does. It's just they ain't trying to prove nothing to nobody by spending millions of dollars, although they have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I'm like this. I don't want who want that much house? How much house do you need?
Right.
How many rooms are you literally going to be in at one time? Now we know the answer to that. And for me as a woman, I personally don't want to be cleaning up a house that big. I
Right.
like my nice, cute little modest house that I can make sure that I can maintain this thing. And I already know that I can maintain it within my old age. My kids grown and gone. Do what you do, you know? And I just think that we have to have have a set of values that is just about more in life than showing off some type of riches because
Right.
at the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything. Not at all, not at all. I see that we've got Sonia Cooper here in the building. She said, "Hello, good people." Tipping in with my church fingers. Hey y'all. Hey
One of my
girl. Hey
favorite
y'all.
people in the entire world, Saya the
Isn't she?
Cooper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good people in the building. We're talking about, or at least we were talking about Isaac. It's almost an hour here.
Right.
Usually, I don't like to take up the people whole lunch hour, but if they hung in there with us, respect still. So let's get through these last comments before we wrap it on up. I see Malik has one more comment. He says, "Don't forget millennial bullying causes suicide. These kids will die socially if they don't have the latest, greatest. They have no idea. I couldn't even answer the house phone at the age of 14." You know, that's a sad truth. That's a sad truth, and there's no easy way to respond to this, and there's no one way to respond to it. But I do know this, that we as parents have to have those conversations with our young people in respect to bullying because students are bullied for everything. You're bullied if you're too tall, you're not tall enough, you're too dark, you're too light, you're too big, too skinny, you got an iPhone, you don't have an iPhone, you got skippies on. There's going to be something. So your kid is going to be bullied by something. You were bullied in some type of way. So we got to be, honest with ourselves about that. But as it
Uh,
relates to iPhones, I'm just not buying it.
to his point about the suicides, there is a crossroads as parents that we have to come to, and that crossroad is again going back to my statement of giving your child everything that you didn't have versus giving them what you did have. And so we have to come to that crossroad and that meeting in the middle where, you know what, I'll buy you Jordans, but you're not getting them every time they come out.
Right.
and you're not getting them for whatever, and you're not getting them 4 times a year. But I might buy you 2 a year. You
Right.
can get this iPhone, but you're not getting everyone that come out. You have to
No.
wait 3 or 4 years before you get another one. So we have to come to a median in the road uh, with that kind of stuff, because we can't get our children everything that they
Right.
want just so they can be socially accepted by their peers. That's not what we're not raising those we're raising kings and queens, and kings and queens lead on their own, and they're not followers of people. So we want them to be able to stand on their own and say, hey, I got a little bit, but I don't have to have what you have to be socially accepted by you.
Right.
So we have to come to a crossroads in the middle on that.
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I mean, we pretty much come to that conclusion of, and we knew this going in. I mean, all of us here, we know that you don't have to be a millionaire to live a happy life, a fulfilling life. You started out when you joined the chat, and you talked about persons like Martin Luther King and people who lived lives who were not millionaires, but they were valuable to us, way more valuable than many millionaires will ever be, or even take the opportunity to be. And so, in wrapping this conversation up, like we all said, and like everyone has agreed to in the chat back and forth here, yeah, there are advantages to having wealth, but it's not required to achieve a fulfilling and meaningful life. So have some goals, teach your young people some goals, and do better for yourself. Is there anything in closing you'd like to give to the people here, Isaac?
Um, just be reminded of why we were put here. We were put here to love one another, to excite one another, to live the best fulfilled life that you can live, and whatever that means to you. Mine is simple. It goes to exactly what Craig said. I don't want to be the richest person. I just want to be able to live a life that I can afford, to do the things that I can be able to do, and still come home and be happy. Think about that, pass that along, and live the best life that you have, the best quality of life that you know how to have.
All right, man. I'm just going to put up one more comment here, guys, and then I am going to close out the show. I want to thank everybody who has joined us here. Noontime My Time. It is some of your lunchtime. So thank you for taking and sharing this time with us. I hope this conversation has been valuable to you. And if it has been valuable to you, I'd like for you to tell someone about it. I'd like for you to take the opportunity to share this podcast. I'd like you to take the opportunity to like it. Make a comment. Make a comment beyond this chat. Go to the YouTube channel. Go to Miss Tanya TV YouTube and make a comment there and like beyond the chat that we've had here with my people in the chat. It makes a difference because that's going to show the algorithm that conversations like this matter, and these are conversations that we want to have. I can get on here and talk, and we can talk and have our chat. But if the numbers doesn't make sense, hey, it doesn't make sense. They won't force this conversation. They won't put it up into the algorithm. Let's make them put it there. Let's make them know that, yeah, we've got other things that we want to talk about. We're not always spilling tea. We don't always want to hear the latest gossip. Just let them know that. And I appreciate that. I've got one more comment that I saw come through that I do want to share with you guys from Les Eccles. Let me read it here for you. Les says, we have to prepare this generation to be able to handle the resources they are privy to: money, phones, social media, etc. We can pick and choose what has changed as time progressed. My mom went to work through the back door. Those were not good old days. Wouldn't want to go back. We are here and now. We got to do better for now. And I agree with that. I agree with Les on that. And I want to thank everybody who's taken time to share your comments. It means a whole lot. But you know what we got to do? We've had this conversation, but before we get back onto the job, I want to make sure that we have ourselves in a good state of mind. We breathe in when I open up the show. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to breathe it out. Let's do some breath work. Inhale to the count of 4. Hold that a few seconds. Exhale. Hold that a few seconds. Inhale again. Hold a few seconds. Exhale. And hold that a few seconds. Inhale one more time. Hold a few seconds. And exhale. Yeah. Well, don't you feel great? I feel great. I appreciate you guys. And if nobody gave you a smile today, if nobody smiled today, you just close your eyes and give yourself a big smile and see how that feels for you. All right? Y'all be great out here. That's what we do. One love, y'all.